Hi, Joe Cerrone.
And Al Rosen.
Welcome to our weekly Zoom meeting for CAD 107, Introduction to 3D Printing. All right, we're running our normal Zoom meeting. And in our Zoom meeting, we also put some additional announcements because today we start our midterm exam. And so this announcement was put in here yesterday, so it says we started tomorrow, but today is today. It's due next week at 11:30 p.m. So you will have some time to do that. And if you have any questions, you can always instant message us. You will need to use HonorLock. And so as we work with the software, HonorLock is a proctoring software. The cost is $11 and you'll need a photo ID and a webcam to take the exam. And we do this primarily to verify identities of the students that are in the class. The test that we will be taking will be a multiple choice exam about 3D printing and the chapters that we've covered in the textbook. We'll be using Chrome to use HonorLock. And so there's a little announcement in here. If the testing site says that there's a password, it's a glitch. So you don't need a password to take the exam. And it's usually a glitch that's solved by going to the honorlock.com and just asking for support and just go through live chat. They're really, really good. They're quick. They'll talk you through whatever you may have as far as problems with that. And it looks like it bounced me. No, I'm in the right one. So as I come back here, HonorLock does have good tech support. All right, so that will start today. And let's take a quick look at the link for that. I think you put that in here somewhere, Al.
That is correct, right above you. It says down a little further. We'll say quizzes and exams, red and aligned. Left click on it.
Thank you.
And it takes you right to it. It has a practice exam, which we informed you last week and week before that. You can still use it, it's still open. And then right below it, you will see midterm test 2021, I mean. And if you just left click on it, it automatically goes right to HonorLock.
Yeah, and if it doesn't, I'm viewing as a student, I think we just go here, I agree, and then you go get started. And so this is why we want to use Chrome, because apparently if you don't use Chrome, it'll give you some problems. And so this looks like the extension that you need to download. You download the extension, and then you too can be like this person here and be happily taking your exams. All right, thank you, Al. So that's our midterm exam. If I do take a quick look at it as a faculty member, I'm going to just get out of the student and I go to my quizzes and exams. And this is why we view it as a student. There's so many things in here. We can look at the practice exam. And then if I look at my questions here, a lot of open-ended questions where we want you to be able to use images and links, demonstrate your knowledge within the course. What is 3D printing? What are the types of 3D printers? FDM, what does FDM stand for? Be able to use the proper terminologies, use deposit modeling. What are the different types of materials that we use as we go through? And with everything connected on computers, we want you to be able to use the computers for the test. So it is open book. You can use the computer software, but essentially it's a multiple choice test. Multiple choice with fill in the blanks and, be able to include pictures. And so within, the test, with them being digital now, you can go and write a short answer, and then you can include links and pictures from the internet. And that just works out really well. All right. So I'm going to go back to my main splash page, I think. There we go. And let's go back here. We're going to take a look at the projects. So this is our lab 8A, and we have an 8A and 8B. And so rather than change all the numbering system, we just add A, B, and C as sub projects. This project works quite well. We've been working with Nova College in Amsterdam in the Netherlands, Oakton here in it's actually, they wrote this, they think we're in Chicago, so they probably have the same issues as far as being able to go with geographies and things like cities versus states and things like that. And we're also working with Technum in Sweden, and this one here in Germany. So if you have any contacts over there, even better. And so we will be printing these little tiles, and then we will be mounting them in this tile cube. And there's some curriculum on this. It's really neat. What we're going to be doing is creating tiles with messages geared towards the global goals of the United Nations. And, you know, a lot of people have things to say about the world, and this will give you an opportunity to kind of share that, and then to be able to incorporate CAD as a media, as a message. And so we're just going to make these tiles. I've got a couple of them that we have created, or at least let me see if I can manage. So here's our 3x3-inch tiles, and then you can what we will be doing is creating this, it's about 10 feet tall in inches, 3 millimeters. And it's just a frame that we will mount these tiles to. And this will be bigger. And so this is phase 2. And so here's our tile. You can download that and open it. And this has my tile. This is actually the curriculum that we give to the other instructors as well. So you guys are getting the good stuff. And then here's some of the panel tiles as well. And here's a video on how to create those tiles. If I switch my webcam over to camera 2, we can talk a little bit about the projects. I'm going to stop my share so I make it bigger. And then I need to see if I can see my camera, which I can't do. Start video. There we go. And let's see if I can make this. Al, does this have full screen video on it right now?
Pardon?
Is this full screen video? Can you see this okay?
I don't see any video at all.
Okay. It should be set for video. If anybody else can see the video, let me stop the recording, pause it. Resuming. So looking at some of our projects, I have our work table over here, and we were talking a little bit about the tiles. And so this is an application where we'll be creating these global goals messages with tiles. Some of our other projects that we're working on are these boxes. The boxes, what we were doing was using a single head FDM nozzle to create the build. You can see there's some dragging of the nozzle on the build plate. I like to print these glass side down. So what that means is when I print them, we'll put them on the glass, and what we'll do is we'll set them up so that we print them face down like this, so that it's smoother. Now, depending on the printers, there's some calibration adjustments, because you can see there's what they call in the machine shop witness marks. Okay, you can actually see how the tool was dragging on the build plate, which can be adjusted. And so every month I've got in these little view cubes. And so what these view cubes are, I'm calling them view cubes, they're calibration cubes. The view cube is a tool within Auto. Thanks, Al. Anyway, you can get out your manicuring equipment, and you can take off the support material for your parts, as you can see that I'm working on. And then the idea, what I'm doing nowadays is that I need to calibrate my 3D printers every month. And so this has a Z, an X, and a Y axis on it. And then what you do is you print it every month and you take your micrometer or calipers, make sure you have it set to the proper units. So I'm going to switch this on over to millimeters, and then make sure that your blades don't have any material. And then we can go through and we can calibrate or test the size. And so you'll get some different measurements. You can see this one is 220.1 millimeters. And then if we go and we measure some of the other axes, 19.9. So FDM is not super precise as we start to go through and make these different objects. But I wanted to share that calibration issues are a big deal. Another thing that we're doing is we're using horizontal expansion so that the parts kind of pop in. And so here's an example. This is not a tile, this is actually a coaster, but you can see, you know, with really well-made projects, they kind of pop off the page with 2 colors versus 1. So when we print them in single color, it's kind of bland, and you can see I need to do a little bit of post-processing on this. The fit for the top is a little tricky. And so here's one of our students who has done this. I have not put his insert in here yet, but you can see we have the support material. This is printed with supports. And so this is not really hard to get out, but essentially if you take some of your tools, the support material just comes right out. It's actually kind of therapeutic. So if you feel like doing a little bit of detail work, and then this one here fits on here pretty good. You can see that the colors too, I'm having a little difficulty matching the grays. And so as I buy the materials from Amazon, that's another thing that I just noticed. And then as we go into our next project, what we're looking at is, here's one of our tape dispensers. Make sure that you brand it. This was done with AutoCAD. I can tell because they use the bonus tools to subtract the text out. And here's the wheels. I find that when we print the wheels, what works best is to print them in this orientation. And you can see that I'm using build plate adhesion here. Okay, and so the build plate adhesion will allow us to print this. And what we find is that if we print them in this orientation, the round shapes are more round. When we print them in this orientation, they tend to be a little bit elliptical. As you can see, when I went through and calibrated and measured my view cube, we don't necessarily get perfect dimensions on that. And so that's some of our projects. This is another project which we're working on. This was my Halloween giveaway, which was a little light for the students for my little Spider-Mans, I guess, that come by and pick up their projects. So all kinds of really nice things. And what's nice about the 3D printing is that we can go through and brand it. And so it doesn't cost very much to do the projects, and they're quick. And so we want you to use horizontal expansion and then be able to put inserts on our project for our 3D printing United Nations Global Goals project.
Hey, Joe.
And sure.
What happens when we use a different materials?
Well, it depends on what type of materials you're using. And that's sort of the fun of working with 3D printers now is once you work with PLA, polylactic acid, you go, oh, this is kind of neat. But you start getting into how the materials work. And so here's one, and this is sort of a fail. Okay, this is what happens when it lifts off the build plate. And so as we start to work with these different projects, the materials will have different melting temperatures and extrusion rates. So the way they work on the Bosch Dremel and the Ultimaker machines is that the material is chipped with an RFID chip, radio frequency identification tag, I don't know, device. And so it talks to the printer, just like when you go through the iPass in your car, there's a chip in there that reads a signal sent out, and then it calibrates it based on that. So materials are probably the next big thing, Al. And right now we're just working with polylactic acid, or PLA.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. There are some other really neat materials, and we'll talk about that at some future time. The other projects that we're working on, just so that my Zoom meeting doesn't go way too far, is Lab 8B. And so if we go here to content, here's 8A and the videos and everything about the project. We're also looking, while I'm talking about it, is looking to light this. And so if you want to take this to the next level, and you guys are doing terrific with it, here's some links.
Joe,
And
you need to switch over, please.
oh, thanks, Al. How's that? Can you see my web page now?
No, I see a blank sheet of paper, but it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's glitching on me. It's just sitting here loading.
Yeah, it's spinning.
That's kind of slow. I don't know why it's taking so long.
Buffering through.
I don't know. So I was talking about the 3D Overseas project and some of the content that's in here. And so one of the things that we wanted to do, or we're looking to do, is we put these onto a pole, and then we put the message tiles around the side. So 4 tiles per tile cube. And then we were thinking of lighting them. And so here's some links to some lights. I think what happened was I hit a link and it just didn't connect. And so here's some lighting links. This one I thought was kind of neat because it's wireless and we have all the different colors. And so as we go into these projects, it's a little bit big as you look at some of the other things. This is sort of my, I really like what they do with LEDs now. And I think it's just really neat, and it doesn't have a real high-end cost. So that's part of what we will be looking to improve on the overseas 3D printing project. Lab 8B is our tape dispenser, I believe.
Yes.
And what we're finding is that the tape dispensers are coming out quite well. We want you to put your name on it or brand it in some way.
Can it use the 3D builder?
Most definitely. So if you're going to use 3D Builder, what we would do is we would come here to our part. This is on SolidWorks. You can see that I've done a little bit of industrial design work. We will have the ability to do multicolor, but we really feel that this is an advanced application. And so we're doing some work to put an advanced course out there for industrial design, which will then incorporate other enhancements like multicolor, fuse deposit modeling extruder heads. With that said, to open this up in 3D Builder, what we would do is we would do save as and save this as an STL file. And so we saved it as an STL file. I'm going to put it in my 107 directory as my tape dispenser. I will say OK to this. There is a certificate by SolidWorks in additive manufacturing. And if you are interested and have taken some of the SolidWorks course, I will give you a voucher for that exam and direct you to where you can get information on My SolidWorks. My SolidWorks has curriculum that is free if you provide your SolidWorks identification number for the school. And I will provide that for you. It's in the student version letter. So once we create the STL, then what I would do is I would go to 3D Builder. And then I would open up my project. I say load object. And then I would go to my 107. Here's my tape dispenser. I open it.
We also do that with AutoCAD.
We can, most definitely. And
Okay.
so let's take a look at the 3D Builder. As we look at it, everything is glyphs now. And so they don't have the words over it. But what I like to do is I like to zero everything out. And so I'll put it 0. This is kind of a big deal, tying machine 0 to part 0. We'll talk about that. I don't think I have to do that. And then we can rotate this. Too early for me to get that right. Not enough coffee. And then we can also rotate it in this direction. Whoa. Oh. Anyway, as we start to go through and work with this, what we found was a saran wrap, the cutter that's on in your kitchen that you use to wrap your food can be a good piece that you can add to here, so you can engineer that. And then if we want to go and edit the object and emboss it, we can use the emboss tools. The easiest way is to just put your name on it. If you want to get into more, better, bigger things, take a look at some of the videos that we did with 3D Builder and bringing in other images from the internet and then converting those. It's kind of cool. And we can just say Oakton College. They actually are changing it from Oakton Community College to Oakton College now. So this is okay to do. And then we can okay that. It looks like you can add some, other embossed features on here if you wanted to. I'm not sure if I can just kind of spin this around to the other side and then just move it. Looks like I can. So as we start to work with these different technologies, keep that in mind. We want to know whose projects are whose. And if we don't have a name on it, it's hard to know whose it is. And we now have a big box of 3D printed parts that we give away when people come in and don't pick up their projects. All right, so that's our projects, and that's our Zoom meeting for this week. We're working on Lab 8 and Lab 8A and Lab 8B, our tape dispenser. There are student files for both the SolidWorks and for the AutoCAD tutor. If we look at the AutoCAD tutor files, what I like to do is I like to lay them out piece by piece as we go through, and we can use some analysis tools and we can see that's an 80 millimeter length. And if we were to tie that into the actual dimensions on the drawing, and I'll get to that after I demonstrate a little bit more. And so we do the basic sketch work and then we extrude that. And if I hold shift middle mouse wheel on my CAD system, and I don't have a great graphics card on my desktop, my gaming computer laptop is the way to go with that. And we do recommend, if you do CAD, to get a gaming computer with a good graphics card. But what we did here was to create a video. There is a video on how to create the tape dispenser. And we have multiple X and Y orientations so that we can sketch on the top of the part by using the user coordinate system. And that video is located in the text here in the curriculum with our tape dispenser tutorial. And so here's the dimensions, 80 millimeters by 55 millimeters, and all the radial geometry here. We use the metric title block, create the geometry. And you don't have to use my tutor files. I put those there to assist students to make it easier to figure out how to create these different parts. But this is a fairly rigorous project with quite a bit of work within AutoCAD and 3D work, as well as with SolidWorks. All right, so let's go back to our main splash page. Wrapping things up. The test is active. You can go to the quizzes and exams. You can take the practice exam. Let me go back as a student. Quizzes, exams, and take the midterm test. It's not a bad idea to take the practice test before that. It's open book, open notes, and it is proctored. And it's just a multiple choice, fill in the blank. It's not a hands-on drawing. And then this week, work on the 3D overseas printing project. We will have a meeting in December with the other schools from Sweden and Germany and the Netherlands. Videos for everything. And that's it. That's our weekly Zoom meeting. And with that, I'm going to stop the recording and open things up for questions.